My name is Coco Harrison and I'm a sophomore at Gorman. Growing up, I have always had an interest in art. I've seen so many videos about ceramics and have wanted to learn more about it and try it myself. So taking this class was a perfect opportunity for me. The first steps I took when creating my name tile was deciding what designs I'd like on it, as well as sketching my ideas on my project sheet. When creating my letters, I used the C&O cutting tools and laid them flat against the tile facing diagonally. The different levels of elevations in my piece was the rock texture on my tile, the heart shape in the corner, as well as the 3D letters. A project that is done is a project that has met all those standards and requirements for the project. A finished project is a design that I have given my all to and have used my full potential to make my dream project. I selected colors that I thought described me. I decided to do a black underglaze in between my rocks and add more detail to them. Unfortunately, the black blended all together, but the vision was there. I added a heart detail as I have a big heart for others, and I also added a rock texture as I love nature. As a kid, I have always loved cats as I grew up around them. I also loved unicorns. I decided to mix the two of them and make a cat with a unicorn horn. I made a kneeling cat as I thought it would be creative compared to a typical sitting cat. The construction that I used for my imaginary friend was the patch process. I used this process for attaching the head of the cat to the body. This process is different from my name tile as I slipped and scored the designs on my name tile. The glaze that I used for my imaginary friend was Cosmic Oil Spot. The reason why I used this glaze is because I have a black cat, and I was inspired by him. I made sure to wipe the bottom of my imaginary friend's feet in order to prevent the glaze from sticking to the bottom of the kiln. The biggest challenges that I faced during this project was time management and parts of my project breaking off. Unfortunately, the tail and the hind leg broke off. I often had to come in before and after school to successfully complete this project. The most successful part of my project was sculpting the face. My biggest tip for creating a pinch pot is to make a deep enough hole when first creating the pinch pot. This prevents future problems of the bottom of the pot being thicker than the top of the pot. I made the ridges with the wooden knife tool by pressing it into the pumpkin and then smoothing out the hills. I made the stem by sculpting the shape I desired and then using force to attach it to the top. To smooth out the interior of my pumpkin, I used the wooden knife tool, making it just as nice as the exterior. I first applied black underglaze to the inside of the lid of the pumpkin, avoiding the edges. After it had dried, I used a sgraffito tool to carve out the shape of a web. The spooky surprise that I created was a cat. The glazes I used were Tangelo and Ancient Copper for the pumpkin exterior. These glazes represent classic colors on a pumpkin. The underglazes I used were Jet Black, Blush, and Cactus for the cat. I used these underglazes to make a typical black cat. The challenging part of this project was keeping the pumpkin smooth. The most successful part of my project was the shape of my pumpkin. In this project, we made coils and layered them to create height in the pot, relating to the Jomon period. The Jomon people were the first people to create pots out of coils and later developed into very detailed pots. My biggest tip when making and shaping coils is to not add too much water to the coils when creating them. Adding too much water makes them fall apart while molding them. I first created a sketch of my pot and used designs that added height to my pot. The glaze I used on my pot was Cherry Blossom, as pink's my favorite color. The biggest challenges I faced while creating my pot was time management and creating the coils. The height of my project was successful. Christmas is my favorite holiday, and I have always grown up making gingerbread houses with my family as a Christmas tradition. This inspired me to make my house a gingerbread house. Before assembling the house, the pieces of clay were leather hard. We used small coils in the corners of the house and stitched them using the wooden knife tool. This ensures that the house is sturdy and won't fall apart. I used the needle tool for texture details and molded the shingles on my roof. My 10 details were a chimney, a brick texture, roof shingles, a wreath, a gingerbread man, Santa in the chimney, a door frame, and 2 windows. The use of coils relates to the Jomon coil pot. We use stitching, which we use to attach different projects. We also use slip and score. The glazes I used for this house were Tuscany, Tamaku, Snow, Ice, Snapdragon, Textured Amber, Dark Green, and Cosmic Oil Spot. I used these glazes to represent the colors on a gingerbread house. The difficulties in this project I experienced was time management, as well as finding details to add to my house. My most successful part of my house is my chimney. My most successful project was my pumpkin. This is because of the overall shape of the pumpkin, as I was most proud of it. I also had good time management while making this project. The most challenging project was the Jamon coil pot. This is because molding the coils together was difficult. My clay would crack and dry out, causing them to break when getting attached. I also would add too much water, causing the coils to break. Reaching the height required was also a challenge. I would rework my Jamon coil pot. I made a design that would be finished within the time of the due date of the project. If I had more time, I would add more detail to the project. The most valuable lesson I learned this semester was that things aren't as easy as they seem. I thought ceramics would be easier than I expected, and I learned that it takes much more practice to master the skill. One goal I want to work on is managing my time better. I feel like I was stressed due to the time crunch of each project, and if I planned better, I wouldn't have to stress.
B-roll.